The last thing my 7-year-old whispered to me that Friday night was, "Dad, don't go home tonight." His voice cracked in a way no child should ever sound, and that single warning, it kept me alive. I remember staring at him in the rearview mirror, wondering why a boy who still slept with a nightlight would speak with that kind of dread. It wasn't the kind of fear a child feels after a bad cartoon or a loud storm. This was deeper, older, almost like he had seen something no child should ever witness. As a father, you learn to trust your instincts. But when your own child looks at you like you're already a memory, you listen. And I did. That night, my home, the place I paid for, built, and protected, had a plan waiting for me. A plan I was never meant to walk away from. I pulled the car to the side of the road, my heart hammering harder than I wanted my son to notice. Leo's eyes stayed locked on mine, wide and trembling, as if he was begging me to understand something he didn't know how to say fully. And that's when I need to ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone so completely you'd bet your life on them, only to find out they were the one planning your downfall? Have you ever walked through your front door thinking you were safe, while someone under your own roof hoped you wouldn't walk back out? Do you know what it feels like when the threat isn't outside, but sitting at your dinner table? Most folks think danger comes from strangers, the news, the streets, the world out there. But trust me, some storms start with a familiar voice, a soft laugh, a warm smile. That's why Leo's whisper cut through me like a blade. Children don't warn you unless something is terribly wrong. I kept asking Leo what he meant, why he didn't want me to go back home. But the way he shook his head, the way he clutched my sleeve like he expected me to vanish, that told me more than his words ever could. "Daddy, she doesn't want you there tonight." "She?" I asked. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Because deep down, I already knew who he meant. His mother. My wife of 11 years. The woman who once swore she could never hurt me. The woman who kissed me goodbye that same morning like nothing was wrong. The woman who sat across from me at breakfast, acting like we still had a future. I didn't want to believe it. No husband ever wants to believe that the person they trusted most could be planning something unthinkable. But Leo's voice, it carried a truth I couldn't ignore. Some betrayals don't creep up on you, they jump out the moment someone innocent finally speaks. And my 7-year-old had just spoken. I kept the engine running as Leo stared out the window, his breathing uneven, his hands shaking. "Buddy, why shouldn't I go home?" I asked again. He swallowed hard. "Because Mom was talking to a man last night. She said, tonight is the night." My chest tightened. Tonight for what? And that's where the real question begins. Why did my own wife want me out of the picture? And what exactly did my son overhear that made him afraid to even look toward our house? That wasn't the only thing bothering me. Earlier that morning, I noticed she withdrew $100.50 from our joint account. A strange amount. Too small to matter. Too specific to ignore. And right after that, a gray sedan I didn't recognize kept showing up near the house. First once, then twice, then parked across the street for almost an hour. I didn't know it then. But those two details were the first cracks in a story that would shake my entire life. If you'd protect your family too, subscribe, unless ignorance feels safer to you. As I sat there on the roadside with Leo gripping my arm, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, real, immediate danger closing in on me. Not from the world outside, but from the one place I should have been, safest. My own home. Leo kept glancing over his shoulder, as if expecting that gray sedan to pull up behind us. His fear wasn't loud. It was quiet, heavy, and honest. And that kind of fear doesn't come from guessing. It comes from knowing. I knew I couldn't drive back to that house, Not yet. Not without understanding why the woman I married was moving like she wanted a life without me, and why she was working with someone who didn't belong anywhere near our family. If danger hides close to home, there's one thing you never do: you let your guard down. If danger hides close to home, subscribe so you never miss warnings. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. This wasn't paranoia. Something real was unfolding, and my son had just saved me from walking into it blind. My name is Gideon Thorne, and 3 months ago, life seemed like a string of perfect days. I ran a landscaping business that kept the lawns of Virginia's suburbs flawless. I had a wife, Monica, whose presence lit every room, even if she could be demanding, and 3 sons, each one a piece of my heart, walking outside my body. The neighborhood was calm, the streets lined with maples and oaks. I had trimmed myself. Every morning, I'd watch Caleb and Julian head off to school with their backpacks slung over one shoulder, while Leo lagged behind, still fumbling with his shoelaces. I smiled at the small, everyday rituals: soccer practice, weekend video games, pancake mornings. This was my life, built from early mornings and late nights, sweat and ambition. Monica had her routines too: her work at the logistics firm, her business retreats. She was precise, sharp, always polished. I thought I knew her. I loved providing for her, making her life easier, believing that love was enough to keep everything intact. But fathers learn quickly that calm doesn't last forever. You don't see storms until they're above your head, I told myself, pouring coffee as the morning sun glinted off the dew-dusted lawn. Monica moved through the house like she owned the air itself, checking her calendar, glancing at her watch, tapping her phone. Even in casual moments, she carried an edge of impatience I had grown used to but never fully understood. She smiled sometimes, the kind of smile that lit up a room, but there were times her eyes grew distant, cold, calculating. I brushed it off. Every relationship has its quirks, right? I loved her enough to excuse small cracks. I thought that was enough. Her business trips were always precise, timed, and non-negotiable. She'd leave for Chicago, New York, or Boston, citing conferences or seminars. And every time she left, I packed her bags, loaded the SUV, kissed her goodbye, watching her stride toward the terminal like nothing in our suburban paradise could touch her. I thought I was a man who had everything under control. I was wrong. Because no matter how perfect the morning, or how routine the coffee, there was a chill under her gestures I hadn't seen or hadn't wanted to see. Fathers have to pay attention to subtleties. Sometimes the smallest movement, a whispered instruction, or a carefully chosen word can be the first sign of danger. Caleb was the oldest, steady and confident, the kind of teen who made friends easily but never forgot a promise. Julian, the middle child, was full of energy and questions, always testing boundaries, but his laughter could fill a room and erase a day's frustrations. And Leo, my youngest, he was quiet, thoughtful, a boy who noticed details most adults would miss. Each morning, I'd watch them navigate our yard, running down the path we'd cleared together, tossing balls back and forth. The smell of cut grass and the soft hum of sprinklers became the soundtrack of my life. I wanted every day to be perfect for them, safe, predictable, filled with small joys. We ate breakfast together, shared jokes, and I reminded them constantly of what mattered: honesty, courage, and looking out for each other. Those lessons weren't just for school or sports, they were lessons for life. And fathers learn quickly. It only takes one moment for the world to shift, for ordinary routines to become battlegrounds. I didn't know it yet, but that morning would mark the beginning of the most dangerous day of my life. That morning, as I packed Monica's bags into the SUV, something felt slightly off. Not alarming, not obvious, but enough that a father notices. She didn't smile when I handed her the luggage. She didn't brush my shoulder in passing. Her eyes, hidden behind sunglasses, darted around like she had something on her mind, something she didn't want me to see. She reminded me of every little thing: the coffee left on the counter, the calendar appointment she had to check, the route she wanted me to take. Each instruction precise, clipped, and unnervingly calm. I had seen her like this before, but never with the same intensity, the same careful calculation. The boys didn't notice Caleb was trying to get his homework done before school. Julian was tying up cleats for soccer, and Leo was fidgeting with a small toy in the back seat. But as a father, I knew that feeling. The hair on your neck rises, the stomach tightens, and you sense that something is not right, even when everyone else is oblivious. That morning, I should have trusted my instincts. Fathers know these moments matter. Sometimes, the smallest warning is the one that can save a life. That morning, as I packed Monica's bags into the SUV, something felt slightly off. Not alarming, not obvious, but enough that a father notices. She didn't smile when I handed her the luggage. She didn't brush my shoulder in passing. Her eyes, hidden behind sunglasses, darted around like she had something on her mind, something she didn't want me to see. She reminded me of every little thing: the coffee left on the counter, the calendar appointment she had to check, the route she wanted me to take. Each instruction precise, clipped, and unnervingly calm. I had seen her like this before, but never with the same intensity, the same careful calculation. The boys didn't notice Caleb was trying to get his homework done before school, Julian was tying up cleats for soccer, and Leo was fidgeting with a small toy in the back seat. But as a father, I knew that feeling. The hair on your neck rises, the stomach tightens, and you sense that something is not right even when everyone else is oblivious. That morning, I should have trusted my instincts. Fathers know these moments matter. Sometimes, the smallest warning is the one that can save a life. We pulled up to the terminal. Monica barely glanced at the curb as I loaded her designer luggage into the back of the SUV. The air outside felt hotter than usual, sticky with early morning tension, though I tried to convince myself it was nothing. I looked back at Leo. He wasn't fidgeting anymore. He was staring, his small face pale, lips trembling. My heart sank before he even spoke. "Dad," he whispered, voice almost too soft for me to hear over the engine. "Don't go home tonight." The words landed like a weight pressing against my chest. I laughed nervously, trying to mask the panic rising in my throat. "What? Come on, buddy. We've got a whole weekend of games. It's just Mom going away for a business trip." Leo shook his head violently. "No, I heard her. Last night, on the porch. She was talking to a man. Not a work man, Dad. A scary man." The color drained from my face. My stomach twisted. The SUV felt too small, the air too heavy. My youngest son, my boy, who still needed me to zip his jacket and cut his sandwiches, was telling me something I couldn't ignore. Children don't speak like that without reason, not with fear like that. And in that moment, I realized, tonight, everything I thought I knew could end. I didn't wait. I swung the SUV into an emergency cell phone lot a few yards from the terminal, my hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Leo's small hand clutched my sleeve, his fear palpable, silent, demanding action. "Tell me everything," I said, trying to steady my voice, though it trembled just slightly. He swallowed, trembling, then spilled it all. The back porch, the whispered conversation, a man who wasn't meant to be there. She had given him the security code. She had told him I'd be alone in the office that Tuesday, and she had gone as far as showing him where the gasoline cans were stored. My mind raced. Gasoline, security codes, my sons, the house. The details hit like a punch I wasn't ready to absorb. My heart hammered, My stomach rolled. Then my eyes flicked to my phone. That $100.50 she'd withdrawn earlier flashed in my memory. A strange, specific number I hadn't questioned. Now it felt like the first breadcrumb of a dangerous puzzle I hadn't yet begun to solve. Fathers have instincts, and in that moment, mine screamed one truth. Tonight, we were in real danger. We stayed hidden behind the lot's hedges, engine off, ears straining. Leo's small body shivered beside me, eyes scanning every passing car. My chest tightened with every passing sedan, every honk, every shuffle of feet. Then I saw it, a dark gray sedan creeping along the terminal perimeter. At first, I thought it was another traveler, but my gut said otherwise. Its movements were deliberate, slow, almost deliberate. The car turned, not toward the airport exit, but toward our neighborhood. My heart sank. The pieces fell into place, twisting in my mind. Monica hadn't boarded the plane. That $100.50 withdrawal, the whispered instructions, Leo's terrified warning, they all converged in that single, impossible realization. I leaned closer to my son. "Stay low, Leo. Don't let them see you." He nodded, gripping my arm tighter than ever. I felt a father's weight pressing down. Protect him. Act fast. Think. One wrong move, and everything could be lost. And in that instant, I understood. Tonight, the home I built wasn't just threatened, it was being targeted. We found a secluded spot in the park, far enough from the streetlights and passing cars to feel invisible. Leo sat beside me, knees pulled to his chest, eyes wide with terror. I could see every detail, the tremor in his hands, the quick inhale between words, the way he glanced over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to appear. "Dad, I heard everything last night," he whispered, voice barely audible. "Mom, she was on the porch, talking to that man, Silas. She said we'd be alone tonight, and that he could do whatever he wanted with the house." I felt bile rise in my throat. My boy, only 7, was recounting a plan that could have ended our lives. The gasoline cans in the back shed the exact location I had confirmed days ago were mentioned. The security code, the timing, everything had been laid out for me to be trapped inside my own home. I gripped Leo's shoulders, forcing myself to stay calm. "Did she say anything else?" He nodded, trembling. She said the street would be empty, and the fire would make it look like an accident. She doesn't want us anymore." A father's instinct doesn't lie. My son wasn't scared of shadows or strangers. He was scared of his mother. And in that instant, the world I thought I knew, the life I had built, collapsed in a single, impossible moment. Most people miss the warning signs. Don't subscribe so you never do. I pulled Leo close, scanning the park, every instinct screaming that we were already in danger. My mind raced, connecting the pieces I had ignored. The precise $100.50 withdrawal, the unusual business trip, the coldness in Monica's eyes this morning. Each detail now screamed the same truth: she had planned for me to be gone, and she didn't care if we were caught in the fire she orchestrated. I could feel my hands trembling, but I forced them to stay steady. Panic wouldn't save us. Logic and preparation might. I replayed Leo's words over and over, committing every detail to memory. The backshed, the gasoline, the timing, Silas's presence. I visualized the house, my office, the boys' rooms. Every familiar corner now carried a threat. "Dad, what do we do?" Leo's voice broke me for a moment, and yet it steeled me too. My boy was terrified, and I had to be the one who acted. I realized then she had underestimated one thing: not my resolve, not my instincts, and not the fact that fathers have a radar for danger that even a 7-year-old can trigger. Every movement, every whisper, Every detail mattered. The $100.50 wasn't just a withdrawal, it was the first clue I missed. The gray sedan, the man she trusted, the keys she handed over, it all painted a picture I couldn't ignore. I promised myself one thing in that moment. I would turn this terror into control. I would use her plan against her. And above all, I would protect my sons at any cost. I didn't drive straight home. My mind wouldn't allow it. Instead, I navigated to a small park, 3 towns over, a place where trees and hills masked our presence. Leo's small hand never left mine, his grip tighter with each step. We parked behind a thick row of oaks, the kind I had cleared years ago when we played hide-and-seek as a family. The summer air was heavy, buzzing with cicadas, masking the quiet sounds of the nearby road. Every passing car made Leo flinch. Every turn of a bicycle bell had him whispering, "Dad, is that him?" I whispered back, keeping my voice steady, though my stomach was tied in knots. "Stay close. Keep your head down. No one sees us." Then I saw it, the same dark gray sedan. Its movements deliberate, slow. It didn't approach the airport, it was heading toward our neighborhood. My pulse raced. Monica wasn't on a plane. That tiny, specific $100.50 withdrawal, the whispered instructions from my son, every little sign, it all made sense now, terrifyingly clear. Leo's eyes widened. "Dad, that's her car." I held his shoulder, swallowing the fear I felt rising. "Yes, and we're going to watch. Stay quiet." I realized then, the threat was no longer hypothetical. It was real, and it was closer than we'd ever imagined. We crouched behind the thick oaks, the SUV hidden beneath the shadowed foliage. Leo's small hands gripped mine as I scanned the road leading to our neighborhood. Every second stretched, each movement on the asphalt magnified. Fathers learn quickly. Danger doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly, patiently, until it's too late. The gray sedan crept closer, Silas driving, Monica in the passenger seat. I could see her profile, the hood hiding her features, but the posture, calm, deliberate, spoke volumes. She wasn't nervous. She was confident, too confident. I whispered to Leo, keeping my voice low but firm, "Do not make a sound. Watch everything. Notice every movement. This is how we learn their plan." Every little detail mattered. How Silas held the steering wheel, how Monica glanced around, how the sedan slowed near the curb by our house. My mind raced through possibilities. I could confront them, call the police, or retreat, but none of those options guaranteed our safety. A father's job isn't to panic. It's to act, to plan, to survive. And in that quiet, tense moment, with my son beside me trembling yet alert, I realized the night wasn't about escape anymore. It was about preparation. And I was ready to turn the hunters into the hunted. The edge of the Virginia woods loomed before us, dense enough to shield our movements, but familiar enough that I knew every branch, every gap, every natural hiding spot. Leo clutched my hand tightly, whispering, "Dad, are we safe?" I shook my head slightly. Safe isn't the word, buddy. Hidden, quiet, and ready. We slipped between the trees, moving silently. The cicada's constant hum masked our steps, giving me a rare sense of advantage. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, made me tense, but I forced myself to remain calm. Panic doesn't protect anyone. Preparation does. I paused behind a thick oak, scanning the clearing near the shed. There they were, Monica and Silas, moving with precise intent. Silas carried a long-reach lighter, while Monica checked her watch. Her voice clipped, clear enough that Leo caught some of the words. "Timers set?" Silas asked. 12 o'clock, Monica replied, her tone casual, almost professional. "The street will be empty. He'll be in his office. He won't even have time to reach the door. Leo's small hand gripped mine tighter. I swallowed hard. My son wasn't scared of strangers, of burglars, of shadows. He was scared of his mother. And in that moment, I realized she had been planning my death with precision. We crouched low in the shadows. Leo pressed against my side, barely daring to breathe. Every second stretched into an eternity. I could see Monica's face clearly now, hood down, features sharp and cold. Silas's hand trembled slightly as he set the gasoline cans near the shed. "I checked the valves," Monica said, her voice almost casual. "By 12, the basement will be ready. He won't know what hit him." Silas's nod confirmed everything I feared. The fire, the setup, my office, my sons, my life, all intended to vanish in minutes. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing myself to breathe slowly. Leo's small hand gripped mine tighter with each word. My son wasn't scared of monsters or shadows. He was terrified of the person he called Mom. Monica straightened, adjusting her jacket, and glanced at the empty street beyond the clearing. "He'll never suspect a thing," she murmured. I felt a sharp pang of betrayal, years of trust, shattered in one calculated plan. But that pang turned quickly into focus. Panic wouldn't help. Leo and I were alive because of his warning, and now every move we made had to count. A father's resolve doesn't tremble for long. I looked down at my son. "We're going to make this right, buddy. Step by step. Quiet, careful, smart." In that moment, I realized this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about reclaiming everything she thought she could take from me. I watched them from the shadows, my pulse pounding in my ears. Monica checked her watch again. Silas crouched near the cans, lighter in hand. Every detail, every motion, reinforced the terrifying precision of their plan. Leo's eyes were wide, trembling. "Dad, she's really doing it," he whispered. I nodded, swallowing hard. "I know, buddy. And that's why we're not going home tonight. Not yet." A cold clarity settled over me. Fear tried to claw its way in, but I pushed it aside. Panic would only make mistakes. I scanned the clearing again, memorizing every position, every movement, every nuance. They thought I was unaware. They thought I was alone. But they didn't count on one thing: a father who wouldn't let his sons be harmed. I squeezed Leo's shoulder. "You saved us tonight with your warning. Now Dad's going to turn this around." In that instant, a plan began to take shape in my mind, a careful, deliberate counter to their attack. I didn't need firepower, not yet. I didn't need the police, not yet. I needed control, evidence, patience. Monica's voice carried through the clearing again, casual, confident, deadly, and I realized her arrogance would be her undoing. That night, a whisper from my youngest son didn't just save our lives, it ignited a strategy that would ensure she never had another chance to harm us. The first priority, my sons. Leo was already beside me, alert but shaken. I knew the older boys were still at soccer camp, oblivious to the danger unfolding. Time was short. Every second counted. I called Caleb and Julian under a pretense of routine check-in. "Listen carefully," I said, my voice low but firm. "Do not come home. Go straight to Grandpa's house. Don't answer questions. Don't call Mom. I'll meet you there." They hesitated, then obedience kicked in. I could almost feel the tension in their limbs ease as they realized the gravity of the situation. My son's safety was the first step in reclaiming control. Next, I assessed what I had at my disposal: trail cameras, a digital recorder, a hidden safe, smart home access tools Monica had never considered. Everything she had overlooked was now my leverage. I whispered to Leo, keeping him close. "We have 4 hours, buddy. 4 hours to make sure she never catches us off guard." Every detail mattered. The back shed, the basement, the timing. The $100.50 withdrawal wasn't just a clue, it was a key, and I had learned to follow keys wherever they led. A father's instinct doesn't sleep. It doesn't panic. It acts patiently and decisively. And in that moment, I knew they had underestimated the wrong man. I guided Leo quietly back to the edge of the woods. My mind raced, calculating every step. I needed eyes on the shed, the basement, every point of access Monica and Silas might use. From my truck, I pulled out 3 motion-activated trail cameras, high definition, the kind hunters rely on. I mounted them in the oak trees, angled perfectly to cover the shed and the back entrance. Each camera blinked silently, unnoticed by anyone, but recording everything. Next, I set the digital recorder near the shed's edge, hidden beneath leaves. Every word, every footstep, every whispered instruction would be captured. I couldn't risk guessing their intentions. I needed proof. I glanced at Leo. "Stay here. Keep quiet. Watch, but don't move." He nodded, trembling, yet brave. My son had already saved us once tonight. Now, he would witness the plan unfold safely. Then I stepped back, surveying the perimeter. I traced every exit, every angle, imagining their approach. This wasn't fear anymore, it was strategy. They thought they had the advantage, but in reality, I had orchestrated a network of observation they didn't even know existed. I whispered to myself more than to Leo. They're about to learn what happens when they underestimate a father. Step by step, everything is in place. Every second now counted. Every movement could be evidence. And as I backed into the shadows, I knew one truth. Patience would make this plan unstoppable. The dog door in the laundry room, a small, overlooked detail, was my entry. Monica had never thought to bolt it, never imagined I'd use it. I slipped through quietly, Leo following closely, his tiny body pressed to mine. The smell of our home hit me first. Vanilla candles she liked, the polished floors I'd waxed last Saturday. Every familiar scent now carried a weight of betrayal. The house was silent, too silent. I moved carefully, every step measured, aware of the gasoline she had placed in the shed and her plan for the basement. My palms were steady, but my heart thumped against my ribs. I could see the faint outline of the basement door from the laundry room. The faint odor of gas lingered, a slow, creeping threat. I pulled out my phone and recorded everything. The valve she had loosened, the trail of accelerant near the foundation, the kitchen counter with the Chicago itinerary and life insurance policy laid out as if waiting for me to notice. I whispered to Leo, keeping him calm. "Watch everything. Don't touch anything. Observe." Then I tapped into the smart home system, adjusting the thermostat, the lights, and the security cameras. Monica thought she was clever. She thought I was a landscaper. But she had forgotten. I also build systems, and those systems would now be my edge. Every moment counted. Every detail mattered. One wrong move could cost us everything. And yet, for the first time that night, I felt the faintest edge of control. I moved methodically. Leo pressed close to my side. Every step had a purpose. I recorded the basement's gas valve, the trail of accelerant, and the neatly stacked gasoline cans in the shed. The camera on my phone captured all the evidence that would ensure Monica and Silas couldn't deny what they were attempting. I glanced at the kitchen counter. The itinerary for her Chicago seminar, the petty cash of $100.50, and the life insurance policy were all visible. She had left a trail, thinking it inconspicuous. I made sure every detail was documented. Next came the smart home system. Lights, thermostat, security cameras. I had access to everything remotely. Monica thought she could control the timing, the outcome, the panic. She didn't know I could manipulate the house from anywhere. Every switch, every camera, every connected speaker became my instrument. I whispered to Leo, keeping him calm. "We're going to watch. Stay hidden. Every movement matters." For the first time that night, I felt the shift. Fear replaced by control. The house that had been a threat now became my tool. I knew exactly how to bait them, how to expose them, how to protect my sons while making sure justice found its mark. A father's instinct isn't just protection, it's foresight. And now, with cameras, recordings, and smart access in hand, I had the upper hand Monica never expected. I watched from my vantage point in the woods, Leo hidden beside me. The gray sedan rolled into the driveway. Monica stepped out, Silas following with the long-reach lighter in hand. Their confidence was palpable, they believed. I was inside, trapped, unaware, and helpless. Silas approached the basement, lighter in hand, while Monica observed, checking her watch. I felt a chill, but not of fear. This was anticipation, the calm before the payoff. I had altered the ventilation. The fire wouldn't consume the house, only simulate the disaster she imagined. A small flame flicked into the vent. Smoke began to rise, slow, convincing. Monica's eyes widened with satisfaction. Silas smiled, believing the plan flawless. I remained still, hidden, recording every movement. Then I opened my phone, tracking the joint bank account in real time. She was already transferring funds, $50,000, disappearing into an account she assumed I'd never find. Every action they took, every word they whispered, every dollar they moved, documented. I whispered to Leo, "See, buddy? Every move they make, we recorded. Patience wins." For them, the fire was victory. For me, it was proof, evidence, a tool, a warning, and soon, a trap they wouldn't escape. Every father watching should ask themselves, would you be ready if someone tried this in your home? If not, subscribe. Stay aware. Protect your family before it's too late. I stayed in the shadows as Monica and Silas fled, their confidence still unshaken. They believed the fire had achieved its purpose, that I was helpless inside. But I wasn't just outside the house, I was in control of everything. From my phone, I tracked their car via the GPS I had synced months prior. Every turn, every stop, every hesitation was recorded. The bank transfers continued in real time, their desperation hidden beneath a veneer of calm. $50,000 vanished from our account, but I had screenshots, timestamps, and video proof. I watched them disappear from the neighborhood camera feed, hearts racing not from fear, but from the thrill of being steps ahead. I could have called the police immediately, but rushing would spoil the plan. Timing mattered. Precision mattered. Every father watching should know. Preparation protects lives. I whispered to Leo, "Patience, buddy. Everything they think they control is now ours to document." I captured every movement, every whispered command, every expression. Monica thought she had crafted a perfect crime. I had crafted proof that would make her regret every second she underestimated me. For those watching, understand this. The people you trust can become threats without warning. Would you have the tools to see it coming? If you care about your family, subscribe now. If you don't, leave a comment. Tell us why you won't. The next morning, I watched from a motel room. News anchors described the tragic suburban fire, and there she was, Monica, standing before cameras, wrapped in a bright yellow fire blanket, dabbing at her eyes with tissues, performing grief as if auditioning for a role. Silas hovered beside her, arm draped casually over her shoulder, pretending to be a supportive friend. The camera caught every tear, every tremble, but I saw past it. Every gesture was rehearsed, every word carefully measured. She wasn't mourning, she was acting. I sipped my coffee, hands steady. For the world, she was the grieving widow. For me, she was the woman who tried to destroy me and my children. I whispered to Leo, sitting quietly beside me. See, buddy? They think they've won. But we know the truth. Every act, every lie, every move is part of the evidence we've collected. A father watching should feel the weight of deception. The ones we trust can mask intentions in a smile, in a tear. And if you don't stay alert, you might be blind to the danger in your own home. Every child, every parent deserves vigilance. Subscribe now so you never miss signs of betrayal in your own family. If not, tell us in the comments why you wouldn't take that step. I entered the police station calmly, carrying my laptop and the folder of evidence. The detectives looked up, confusion written across their faces. "Mr. Thorne?" one asked, disbelief in his voice. We thought you were gone," I interrupted softly. "But I'm very much here, and I have everything you need." I opened the laptop, playing the footage from the trail cameras, the digital recorder, and the phone. Every movement of Monica and Silas, the timer, the gasoline, the loosened valve was captured in perfect clarity. Every dollar she transferred, every Chicago seminar lie, every attempt to erase her tracks, it was all documented. The detective's eyes widened, and the color drained from his face. He motioned for his partner. This changes everything." I watched as their expressions shifted from disbelief to grim determination. I didn't speak. There was no need. The evidence spoke louder than any words. I whispered to myself, and to Leo, who was hidden safely nearby, step by step, everything we prepared is unfolding exactly as planned. A father watching this should ask, are you prepared to protect your family and gather proof if danger comes knocking? If not, subscribe, don't risk ignorance. And if you won't subscribe, leave a comment explaining why you wouldn't act to save your loved ones. The bistro was quiet, the hum of conversation masking the storm about to erupt. Monica and Silas were seated in a secluded booth, champagne glasses in hand, smug satisfaction on their faces. They believed they were celebrating a successful escape, a perfect crime. I walked in, slow, deliberate. My presence went unnoticed at first. Then, as I approached, Monica's gaze snapped up. The color drained from her face, not just fear, but complete disbelief. She hadn't expected me alive, not after the fire, not after the chaos she thought she had orchestrated. I pulled out a chair and sat at the head of their table, calm, measured, every movement controlled. The officers I had coordinated with stepped from the shadows. Silas's hand twitched toward his chair, but hesitation froze him. "The Chicago seminar ended early?" I asked softly, my voice carrying the weight of every wronged moment. Monica stammered, shaking. "Gideon, we thought you were." "Gone?" I finished for her, leaning in. "You tried to erase me, my sons, our home for $100.50 in petty cash, 30 years for your actions." The handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Silas was tackled before he could react. Monica's acting had no power now. Every calculated smile, every feigned tear, it all crumbled before justice. I leaned back, eyes scanning the room. My son safe, my plan executed flawlessly. A father's instincts, patience, and preparation had turned the tables completely. For those watching, would you step in if your family was threatened? Subscribe now. Don't wait until it's too late. And if you still hesitate, leave a comment explaining why you wouldn't fight for your loved ones. The boys were safe at my father's house. Relief washed over me, tempered by exhaustion. We had lost the house, yes, but we had gained something far more important: life, trust, and the knowledge that careful preparation could protect a family from the unthinkable. I watched Leo, my youngest, fidgeting with a toy truck. The whisper he had given me that night, the warning, had saved us all. A child's intuition, often overlooked, had become our shield. We returned to survey what remained of our home. The structure stood, scorched in parts, but the real victory was intangible. I had secured the evidence, protected the boys, and ensured justice would reach Monica and Silas. Every step had been deliberate, every precaution planned, every heartbeat measured against danger. As I walked through the new plot of land where we would build our next home, I felt a sense of control and safety I hadn't known in months. Security systems, cameras, and locks, yes, but more than that, vigilance, awareness, and a father's resolve. To all the fathers, mothers, and guardians watching, trust your instincts, protect your loved ones, prepare for the unimaginable, and do not ignore the signs, even the smallest ones. Join our family. Subscribe so you never stand alone again. Share the story, comment your thoughts, and ensure that if danger ever lurks close to home, you're ready. Together, we watch, we protect, and we survive.